What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to On the Fence Movie Reviews. Today, we have to discuss James Gunn's DC slate, looking all the way towards the first chapter of their 8 to 10 year plan. We have it all written down. We have it all broken down. So let's get it started and let's talk about what's on this slate. So to begin with, James Gunn obviously started with announcing that Matt Reeves' Batman 2 will be hitting theaters October 3rd, 2025. Yeah, I know, it is kind of 2 years away. However, if it's going to be anything like the first movie, I'd rather Matt Reeves take his time so we can get a good Batman movie, and yeah, let's get it out there. And with that being said, with the Batman kind of still being in DC's kind of slate of movies and the new James Gunn run DC Studios, this kind of led us into what those type of movies will be. The movies like Todd Phillips' Joker, Matt Reeves' Batman, Teen Titans Go, Superman and Lois on the CW. All these movies and TV shows will cease to, they will still exist. However, they will exist in the what they call DC Elseworld. So what we're going to get is the DC slate of actual movies that are going to be connected to the new DC tied-in story universe. And then, Batman, Joker, Teen Titans Go, and Superman and Lois are going to be DC Elseworlds, which is a good idea because it gives directors and filmmakers opportunities to create something outside of James Gunn's, world. If they see fit a character that they are not working with. Example, I think Constantine 2 has been greenlit, so I could see that being a DC Elseworld kind of movie and not tying into James Gunn's slate. Let's talk about what we know from the slate thus far and what's already kind of been announced, which was Shazam! Fury of the Gods. We've gotten trailers for that already. That is DC's next big film coming out right now after the failed box office of DC's Black Adam, which in my opinion I thought it was a great movie, but apparently it didn't do good in the box office numbers wise. And at the post-credit scene, it actually delivered a promise that we are no longer going to get. After Shazam! Fury of the Gods, we're supposed to get The Flash, which is set to reset the entire DC universe. That way they can start James Gunn's and Peter Safran's new 8 to 10 year plan with Chapter 1 entitled Gods and Monsters. This is kind of an interesting title, Gods and Monsters. This is going to introduce both the superheroes of the DC universe, people like Superman and everything, and Supergirl, and then you're going to have the monster side of it, which you'll see a lot of the villains, and of course they're talking about doing a Swamp Thing film, which we'll get to in a bit. Right after The Flash resets everything, we're going to kick it off with Blue Beetle, which I'm told is supposed to be very Hispanic community friendly and whatnot, and I'm super for that because, I love my community. And then right after that, we're going into Aquaman 2, which is still set to come out. So I don't know what the future of Aquaman 2 holds for Jason Momoa still playing the character of Aquaman. He's been, teasing a lot of stuff on social media lately. A lot of people are, wanting him to play Lobo in an upcoming DC film. Whether that will happen or not, that would be really cool, but only time will tell. And we have to go see Aquaman 2 to see what happens to Jason Momoa's Aquaman after that. So let's talk about the new things that were announced for James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC Studios. This is what's really going to kick off everything going into the new tied-in storyline of just an 8 to 10 year plan that they're going to, start from here and end at this giant goal, kind of like how the MCU did. So James Gunn taking notes from the MCU from Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige better watch out. We're going to start it with Creature Commandos. That was the first thing announced. It is an animated series. It's going to be written by James Gunn, and he says this is something that he's been wanting to bring to life for some time. This is kind of like a passion project of his, so him writing this is going to be really cool. The cool thing he said about the animated shows is a lot of the actors that are going to be casted to play the voices in these animated shows will be casted to play the live-action versions of themselves from said show, so you'll see them both in the animated universe and in the live action universe. You could even potentially even see him in the gaming universe. He said he wants to tie everything in, and I'm so for that. That's going to be really, really cool. So yeah, this sounds like something cool. This sounds like this is going to be like pretty much like a squad team looking for creatures, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. I kind of want to see what they have to offer with that. That should be a lot of fun. And the whole idea of them going from animated to live action, so we will eventually see these characters in the live action DC universe in this much expanded story. Mind you, this is only part of Chapter 1. He didn't release all of Chapter 1, but that probably will be coming relatively soon. Maybe we can expect it at Comic-Con. That would be probably the best bet to release the rest of that Chapter 1 slate. The next thing he announced was a live-action series based around Amanda Waller, which will be entitled Waller. This is going to be, from what I've been reading up on and everything, this is going to be the kind of in-between for Peacemaker Season 1 and Season 2. I guess Peacemaker Season 2 just hasn't been, James Gunn just hasn't had time to write it yet, so this will be that kind of in-between until we get a Peacemaker Season 2. James Gunn just had his hands full writing the Creature Commandos, and he's writing the new Superman film. So I mean, like, he's just been a very busy guy writing. But this is going to be a live action show, and Viola Davis will be returning to play Amanda Waller. So that's actually a lot of fun. I mean, she just nails the role as Amanda Waller. She's very intimidating, she's very scary, and she knows she'll do whatever it takes to get what she needs to get done, which I love that about the character, and I love that Viola Davis brings that to the table with that character. On top of that, it was also announced that the Peacemaker team will be returning in Waller, so Waller will be working with the Peacemaker team. Whether or not Peacemaker will make a cameo himself in one episode, we will have to wait and find out. That would probably be the best bet to set up Season 2, because Peacemaker was one of the greatest DC shows ever made. I will hands down stand by that. That was such a good show. Then we got a Superman movie that's going to really, he said this is really what's gonna really kick off the start and the heart of the DC universe of this new slate, and it is entitled Superman Legacy. It is going to be a feature film that will be in theaters. The first two are going to be shows that will be on HBO Max. This movie is also being written by James Gunn, so I'm glad that James Gunn is taking a Superman movie like seriously, and he really wants to establish, a Superman in this world, like as the main character and whatnot. So I'm super stoked for that. We also got a release date for Superman Legacy, which is coming out July 11th, 2025. Again, 2 years away. But when you really think about it, we're getting a solo Superman movie and a solo Batman movie in the same year. On top of that, Fantastic Four and the Avengers Kang Dynasty are coming out this year. That year, I don't think we're ready for 2025. Our heads are going to explode from very start of 2025 to the end of 2025. It's going to be an insane year. Next up on the slate was a show, something that a lot of DC fans have been waiting for some time, ever since that Ryan Reynolds movie that we do not talk about. Even he jokes around with it. And that is Lanterns. And it's not any specific lanterns. James Gunn has confirmed we are going to see different of colors of the lanterns, but it's mainly going to focus on the Green Lanterns. But we will see other colors pop up. And matter of fact, in the concept art they showed for this show, you see both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, who are now confirmed to be in the show. Hal Jordan with his Green Lantern ring, and it looked like Jon Stewart had a Yellow Lantern ring. So I'm excited to see where this show's going to go. They're basing it, from what they were saying, this is going to be like a True Detective kind of show, where they're going to be kind of monitoring all the space and stuff, and you're going to see like a lot of them doing the detective work and stuff. So I'm really excited to kind of be exploring like the space aspect and the other galaxy aspect of, the Green Lanterns and whatnot. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if we see other Lanterns on the show. It should be a fucking blast. That is also set to be on HBO Max. Now, another film coming out is called The Authority. It's based on the Wildstone characters, a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and try to fix it by any means necessary. When I heard of the idea of this, I mean, I've never heard of this group before, so I'm gonna have to do some research in it, but this sounds a lot of fun. I'm so for this. I mean, just to hear like these group of superheroes that think the world is broken, so they're taking it into their own hands to try to fix it. I mean, this has James Gunn written all over it. If he doesn't direct it, he should at least be writing this goddamn movie, because this sounds like something James Gunn was definitely doing. The thing I love about James Gunn, if you guys notice his track pattern of things, especially when he was with Marvel, is he likes to take a lot of the not so known characters that have been created in the DC universe and kind of make them household names. He's done that with the Guardians of the Galaxy, a lot of characters within Guardians of the Galaxy, and he just recently did it with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. So I mean, hats off to James Gunn for just reviving these characters that weren't taken serious and giving them brand new kind of origin stories and taking it a little bit more seriously. I love that. Another TV show coming to HBO Max, Paradise Lost. This should be pretty cool. So Paradise Island is Themyscira from the Wonder Woman comics. So this is going to be based around kind of a Wonder Woman prequel, pretty much before the time of Wonder Woman. It's also being compared to like a Game of Thrones style TV show. So with HBO producing this, as well as DC Studios, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that if you get the right showrunners and the right writers of this show, this could potentially be the next Game of Thrones for HBO Max. And not to mention, they already got House of the Dragon out right now, which a lot of people have told me is really good. So I'm excited for this. If it's going to be like kind of like a medieval type of show where we see them going through problems on Themyscira, other gods introduced, that's why the gods and monsters kind of thing makes sense. So I'm very excited to see what this is about. A brand new Batman movie that is going to be tied into this new DC universe and will be separated from Matt Reeves' stuff is coming out, entitled The Brave and the Bold. It's going to be a feature film that will be in theaters. It is going to be the official DCU Batman, and he's going to finally have a Robin, the first time since I believe the Schumacher Batman films that he actually has a live-action Robin. This is going to be cool, and this Robin is going to be Damian Wayne, so we are going to get the origin story of Batman's son. It will be like a father-son team-up right here. But the thing that caught my attention the most is the two things that James Gunn mentioned in this, that it's going to be based off Grant Morrison's run of Batman, which was The Brave and the Bold, which was honestly, Grant Morrison is one of the like a phenomenal writer. So I just think that this is going to be a phenomenal Batman movie, and this is going to be the kind of beginning of the Bat family. So with that being said, we will probably be getting introduced to Nightwing, Red Hood, Batgirl, Batwoman. We might be getting introduced to a lot more Bat family things, and I'm hoping we get to expand on the Batman Rogues Gallery, because I think Matt Reeves' Batman did a really good job with kind of rebooting the Riddler of how he looks. So I'm kind of hoping we get something in the same realm of James Gunn pulling from like the deep cuts of Batman's villains. So that would be a lot of fun. The next thing we're going to talk about is a TV show entitled Booster Gold. Is going to be on HBO Max. Booster Gold is, a cult classic character, if you will. I mean, he's a very famous character in the DC universe, and basically his synopsis is a loser from the future who uses future tech to come back in our time to be his own superhero. So that is kind of gonna, when you kind of hear things like that, like a kind of a show of a man who is a loser in the future and then gets future tech and comes back to our reality and becomes his own superhero. The one name that I can see fit this role, and there's a lot of people are talking about this, is Chris Pratt. I don't know what his contract looks like in the Marvel Universe as far as after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I don't know what any other contracts look like. James Gunn just made it very clear that he's done. His trilogy is done. What he did with those characters are done. So whatever Marvel wants to do with them next after he leaves is all on them. He fulfilled what he wanted to do with those characters. So I'm just saying, Chris Pratt as Booster Gold would not be a bad casting decision. Especially, I know a lot of fans are like, you better not mooch like MCU actors. It's like, maybe those actors are just good at what they do, and we want to see them fulfill other roles that we know that they're probably perfect for. Chris Pratt being Booster Gold. Okay, so now we're down to the last two films, which is going to be based on Tom King's run of Supergirl, The Woman of Tomorrow. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Tom King is also another one of my favorite writers in comics. He did a really good run on Batman a couple years ago, which I fell in love with. And so I trust Tom King's writing. Tom King is such a brilliant writer. I love everything he brings to the table. And the fact that James Gunn is working with a lot of these comic book writers and adapting a lot of their stories to the big screen, it really makes me happy as a comic book fan and as a film fan, because as a comic book fan, you always say oh, I wish it was more loyal to the comics. James Gunn is doing that. James Gunn, if you guys are really paying attention right now, James Gunn is essentially giving us, the fans, comic accurate films that he feels that need to be showcased out there from brilliant writers. So I'm looking forward to this. The thing I like about this story is that if a lot of people don't know about Supergirl is she was older than Superman when she was on Krypton. Her actual job was to protect Clark Kent because he would have been an outcast landing on Earth. However, when her rocket took off, it got hit by something and it threw her off course for couple dozen years. By the time she got to Earth, Superman was already grown up and into an adult. He was already at his Daily Planet stages. He was already living in Metropolis, but he found her. So her only purpose was to pretty much raise him, but by the time she got there, he had already been raised and already been kind of the superhero. So when she got to Earth initially, she didn't know what to do. She was more on the line of like, well, I'm kind of lost. Like, I don't know. I was sent here to protect him. He's already been protected and raised good. He's already doing good for the world. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to fit in. Not to mention, she was old enough to witness the final days of Krypton, where in a sense of she pretty much kind of suffers from PTSD from it. It's one of those things that just kind of witnessing like your loved ones die and stuff is kind of sad. And then her kind of getting to, Earth late and Superman already grown up kind of maybe drove her even to further depression. So I'm excited to see what they do with this film. This could be an easily strong female-led movie that talks about a story about PTSD, and a lot of people maybe who suffer from PTSD will probably relate to something like this. So, I mean, this could be a very strong film, especially kind of, seeing the final days of Krypton kind of coming to Earth and trying to do things. I don't know. This could be a really strong film. I know it can. And I'm looking forward to it. And the last thing that was talked about, which is actually in the form of a horror film. Yeah, you heard that here. DC is doing horror films as well. Swamp Thing is a very famous character from the DC, the Justice League Dark, and just kind of like the Vertigo side of DC. A very mystical and supernatural character. Constantine has worked with him many times, and so has the other members of the Justice League Dark. Batman, has worked with them. Zatanna. So this is kind of going to introduce that supernatural aspect of the DC universe that a lot of people love, which could also introduce characters like Constantine, like Zatanna, all the Justice League Dark characters, Deadman, all that stuff. So I'm very excited to see what they do with Swamp Thing. And James Gunn kind of quoted it as this: a very dark horror story on the monster still feeds into the DCU. So yes, it's going to be a horror movie. It's going to be very different from what we've talked about and seen thus far with this DC universe, but some way, somehow, it's still going to tie into that larger, bigger, expanded DC universe. Another thing that is good to mention too is when James Gunn did announce these movies, he did announce that each movie will either be PG-13 or rated R, so they are open to doing rated R. So I can see a movie like, Superman and kind of Supergirl being PG-13, where you have Swamp Thing being rated R, and maybe even Batman being rated R because of the violence. So I'm really for that. I mean, if you wanna have the directors and the writers really push their goal and their vision, you gotta let them do what they want. And James Gunn has made it clear that anyone they work with in DC with these movies, actors, everything, they're gonna let them create their vision. There's not going to be any more studio interference. Like, James Gunn and Peter Stefan have the final say so in whatever goes out with DC. So I'm super excited. There's a lot of information to take in, a lot to process. You know that I know this was kind of a longer video here on the Fence Movie Review, so if you guys stayed around this long, I really appreciate it. Just a lot to break down. I'm very opinionated when it comes to DC. I am a massive DC fan, so when I heard this slate earlier this week, I was just super excited for it, and just I was ready. I'm ready for DC to finally be taken serious, and I cannot wait to see what James Gunn has in store for all these movies, who he's going to cast, and whatnot. So I'm ready. I cannot wait for James Gunn's DC, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I just say, to the fans out there who really want the Snyderverse, I get it. I was on the same boat for the longest time, but I'm willing to take the change because it looks like James Gunn is finally taking DC in a serious direction, and I like that. So I'm ready for it. I can't wait. And you guys know that if we have any more news, any more trailers, any more updates on James Gunn's DC, you can catch it here, right here on the Fence Movie Reviews. There's a lot of things coming out pretty soon. A lot of movie reviews we'll be doing pretty soon, so check us out on the Fence Movie Reviews on social media and right here on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button with that bell notification to be aware every time we put up a new video. I'm Anthony. You're watching on the Fence Movie Reviews, and I'll see you guys later.